Good morning. My name's Tim Welch. I'm a vocal instructor and an educator of mindfulness. I'm also a student of mindfulness. I guess that goes hand in hand. I'm doing this video to talk about the difference between joy and happiness. Joy and happiness. I believe there's a difference, and really ultimately these are just words or hey, what's up? When we talk about words, when we use words to describe anything, the word is basically a signpost pointing to a particular experience or a particular thing. For instance, a cup, the word cup points to, a cup. That's what it's all about. Hey, when we're talking about words like joy and happiness, what are we talking about? And so I want to put a bit of my definition on this, break it down. I'll sort of start off a little more what I would consider, beginner type of an approach to explaining it, and then get a little more advanced as I get deeper into the video. I was talking with my girlfriend about this topic, and I did try a live video a while back on this topic, and when she watched it back, she said, boy, this is pretty advanced. It's pretty advanced talk around the topic, and when I talk about mindfulness, I talk about the universe, I talk about happiness, self-awareness all the time, that I take for granted how sometimes I'll start talking about it, and my girlfriend and I, we'll connect, but then someone listening in on our conversation will be like, what the hell are you guys talking about? So I just want to break it down, break down the difference between joy and happiness in a very digestible, accessible way first, and then I'm just going to let my mind go off on the topic. I'm not sure where I'll go. I'll hold awareness of myself as awareness here, okay? So the reason I wanted to talk about the difference between joy and happiness is I saw a post on Facebook that someone was mentioning, you can't be happy all the time, was her comment. And as I felt that, and as I thought about that, I believe that to be true, and also it can easily become misinterpreted and become a sort of cop-out for taking responsibility for your state of being and taking responsibility for finding another way to live other than just, I'm happy now, I'm sad now, life's good when I'm happy, life sucks when I'm sad. Like, there's so much more going on in our lives than when things are good outside of me externally, I'm happy, and when things are not good, I'm bad. There's a whole nother world going on other than that simple surface level happy sad thing. But when we're not present to ourselves, when we're not present to what we're thinking, when we're not present to everything that we're about, what happens is we can't step outside of the external ups and downs of life. We can't step back and say, whoa, I see that my life is having all sorts of experiences, some positive, some negative, but I can be peaceful in spite of that. Like, a lot of people haven't had that breakthrough, that aha moment where they can be frustrated or sad or upset about something and then come to a place where they're like, oh, I'm sad and both at peace with the emotion being in my awareness at the same time. A lot of people haven't had that discovery. And so I want to talk about the possibility of that, all right? So happiness, the way that I'm defining happiness right now is it's the surface level emotions, the ups and downs, the day-to-day. You wake up, you feel a little sore, you're achy, you're tired, it's in that where it's like you're achy now. You feel better, you're happy. Oh, I feel good. I feel energized, I had good sleep, I'm happy. I'm sad, I'm bothered, I didn't get the promotion or whatever, Happiness, sad, surface level emotions. We can be happy or sad and a surface level and also at the same time feel bliss, paradoxically, at the same exact moment. That's what I want to talk about, that's possible. And I want to just get into some of the ways that I feel that, some of the ways I experience it, some of the ways that I practice that in my everyday life. And what it's like kind of when I have that experience is, it's like it's not like there won't be a surface level emotion in my awareness when I'm feeling the peace underneath it. I'll still feel that. Like I can still feel, itchy, sore, with the body, or frustrated with, something happened with the house. Maybe I had, the washing machine was messed up and I felt a little annoyed that I was trying to get ready and I was late now. By practicing meditation every morning, and as much as I can throughout the day, as much as I'm gifted with the awareness of it, what happens is that happiness and sadness that I'm experiencing from external things like the washing machine breaking, stuff like that, I can step out of it, I can zoom out, I can become aware of myself as the awareness itself behind the frustration, around the frustration, and I can feel peace at the same moment I feel frustration. At the same exact time, anytime throughout the day. Now, as much as I feel I experience this in my life, and I'm thankful to have moments of awareness and awakening to this every day, I still have lots of moments where my awareness, the attention that is me, identifies with the frustration. It still happens to me. I would be inauthentic if I was sitting here saying, I've transcended any attachment to emotional reaction. And the truth is that's not true. Where I'm at now on this journey is I'll wake up more and more. It's like throughout the day, a couple of years ago, or I don't know how much time ago, some time ago, I would feel myself, I may be identified with a frustration or identified with something external much more. I would spend longer times identified with a fear or an anxiety before I woke up from it. Now, it's faster and faster. It's almost like the slightest frustration nowadays will, poof, it pops me out and makes me aware, as well as the slightest happiness. I mean, I'm on the external level. Remember, happiness is external. It's ups and downs that come with day-to-day stuff, okay? Joy, and I'll also put bliss down there as a deeper emotion, a deeper level emotion. Bliss, joy, that can exist simultaneously with happiness on the surface. And that's what we're talking about, okay? So, in the doing of this, in the understanding and the practice of living in this principle, this idea of I can be at peace with anything that's coming on the surface, in the practice of this, it's the identification with, we can say this in so many different spiritual or religious mediums or scientific mediums, it's the identification with the constant that's inside of us. What I mean by the constant that's inside of us is the identification with the awareness that we truly are. And this is something that's talked about a lot. It's talked about in Buddhism. Eckhart Tolle talks about it a lot. There's, many people have talked about the higher self, the true self, the deeper self. And it's something that's so there, it's almost hard to see at first until the universe might smack you awake. Or sometimes a spiritual text can really pop you open. But to get to that deep level of joy and bliss, there has to be a stepping out, pretty much a stepping out of the way life felt before it. And it's one of those things where it's hard to see it until you've seen it, and once you see it, that's all you're ever going to see, type of a thing. It's like a fish swimming around in the ocean, who is asking, where's the water? Where's water? There's water. Where's the water? You know, that comparison of becoming aware of yourself, becoming aware of the true self that's inside of you, that's behind your thoughts, that's not your body, but that's always constantly there. That thing is just like the fish swimming around in the ocean who can't tell that he's in water because he can't see it, because all he's ever seen is water. So in becoming identified and becoming aware of the true self that's inside of us, that's always constant, that's the trick to getting to a constant state of joy that's independent of the surface level emotions from the day-to-day stuff. So in meditating, that's where we can really find that true self. Hey, in meditating, by deepening into the identification with that true, higher, zoomed out self, we're able to hang out there during panic attacks, during depression, during ecstatic, joyful events in our lives, which are enhanced by that. Every single experience is enhanced by an identification with our true selves. Every single life experience. Think about that for a minute. Every life experience is enhanced by tapping into that deeper awareness that's inside of us. Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, what the hell is he talking about, this deeper experience inside of us? I haven't experienced that. I wake up, I do my thing, I go to work, I have fun, I go out with my friends, I drink, I party. What do you mean a deeper self? Like, if you have no understanding of what I mean by the awareness of yourself underneath, it may be possible that I could explain it to you now and it would make sense to you. It may very well be possible that I'll explain it to you and you may get it on some level, but you can't experience it. And then it may be that this just doesn't make sense at all at any level. And likely if this doesn't make sense at all, you probably have already tuned out of what I'm talking about. But in the identification with the true awareness, the attention that is us, the practice of meditating in the morning, that's what I do every morning, really. You know, I'm doing a lot of things in my meditating every morning, but the biggest thing, the most zoomed out, the deepest level thing I'm doing is just becoming aware of anything, becoming aware of myself as anything else other than my thoughts in my head. You know, have you ever noticed you walk into a party or you drive home and you realize you don't even have a single memory of driving home? It's like, how the hell did I get home? In those moments, that's a classic example of where we are completely consumed with our thoughts, so much to the point where we're not existing at all in the real world. You know, driving home, we'll call that unconscious. You know, when you drive home and you're so zoned out in your thoughts and you don't even know what you're thinking about and you're identified with them, and then you get home and you're like, why? How did I get home? I don't even know how I got home. I'm calling that a state, that's an unconscious state of being, okay? You're the opposite of present when you're in that state. A present person, or a person, any person that's present in this moment, we all are present and unpresent, including myself, but a person who's present, who's driving home from work, is aware of their thoughts. They're a little bit aware of their thoughts. They're very aware of the road. They're aware of the beauty of the road. They're aware of the energy of the other drivers. That's self-awareness. So when we have the gift of waking up and being self-aware and present to our thoughts, present to our emotions inside of us, there's a constant experience had, there's a duality to our experience had when we tap into that identification. So one thing I've really noticed very interesting about it, one thing I've noticed about this duality of living inside of bliss, or the deep level of bliss, while having surface level emotions on top of it, one thing I've noticed about it is, well, a couple things. Let me back up and say, I started with this video a little more accessible, a little more basic in my talking about the difference between joy and bliss. Now I've talked about kind of what I feel to be the surface level parts of it. I'm going to go a little deeper now and just talk fully from the way that I like to language about the universe. And if you have any questions about what I'm saying or something's not making sense, please feel free to ask a question. I'm on a live video. This video, by the way, will also be posted to YouTube in a higher quality. I've got a nice camera behind me, and it'll be posted in my description on Instagram. Okay, but now I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the difference between joy and bliss, and those surface level emotions: happiness, sadness, frustration, fear, anger. Okay. In the morning, when I'm able to step out of my ego, step out of identification with thought form in my mind, in the morning, first thing I wake up, I come sit right outside here in my backyard if the weather's nice. I even push it when the weather's not nice. And I sit out here and I do one of the first meditation techniques I do to identify with that blissful version of myself is I do an inner body awareness meditation. Eckhart Tolle talks about it. There are lots of other people that have talked about this meditation. But what I do is I'll simply just hold my hand on my lap. I don't have the camera set to it. I'll put my hand upside down on my lap and I just sit and I get quiet and I just feel the sensation of my hand sitting there still. And I ask myself, what does it feel like? What sensation can I feel inside of my hand? And if you sit and do that for a second, you'll realize you can feel this sort of buzzing, tingly feeling there. What I do is I focus on that feeling. First I start in one hand, usually I'll start in two, and I'll just hold my awareness there. And I hold my awareness, and then I'll spread it to another hand. If I don't have it in both hands, I'll spread it to the other hand, and I'll sit for a couple minutes, then I spread it to my feet, and I'm holding this like charged feeling, which what I believe when they talk about chi in spiritual practices, that's really what we're referring to, is this feeling of aliveness inside of our bodies that's always there. If you ever are doing anything and you turn your awareness to that buzzy feeling in your hands, you're going to find that it's always there. Always. You can always turn yourself to the awareness of that buzzy feeling in your hand. How is that going to help you? What does that do? Well, here's the thing. When we identify with anything else outside of our identification with our thought stream, anytime we identify with anything else outside of it, that tingly, buzzy hand feeling was just talking about, the sensation of our breath, the sound of an air conditioner, or like that you can hear maybe in the distance, the background here, or the sound of the stillness sitting outside, taking an om, saying some sound or a chant over and over. Anytime that we identify with anything outside of, hey, well, I need to go, like the thought stream that's going, well, what should I be doing today? Oh, this was great. Maybe I should go. Oh, I can't believe that he talked to me and said that. What was happening yesterday? Oh, yesterday I was going there. Oh, that part of our brain that's constantly doing that, which we don't judge. We're not fighting that part of our brain. We embrace that our brain is doing that. We can, by us stepping out of that identification, it doesn't mean we fight it. It doesn't mean that we try to shut it off, stop our thoughts, which there is something to talk about with that. There are ways to take our thoughts and snip them and get into big holes of emptiness in our heads. But that's not what I'm talking about. I don't do that right in the beginning of my meditating. In the beginning, I'm just identifying with anything else I can other than the thoughts in my head. And there are some mornings where I'll wake up and I don't know what I was dreaming about, but it'll be some sort of funk, or I was being chased by Freddy Krueger, which used to be one of my childhood nightmares. Or I'll be in a real, a real funk, and my thoughts I'm completely stuck in my thought stream, and I'm identified, and I'm sitting out. I'll come out here in the yard, and it's like I can't sit down in my chair. I can't meditate. It's like I walk around my chair and I'm like, oh, I'll meditate, but I can't sit down. It's because my mind is I'm so stuck in identification with mind. Thankfully now I'm at a place where I sit down every day. No matter how big of a funk or craziness I have in the morning, I can sit my butt down and meditate and step out of it. And I'm just trained, through discipline and through repetition, I've trained myself to do that enough to where I can check out of my thoughts. And when, I just find that for me, when I do that, for me personally, this is just mine, I know everyone has their own way in. The inner body awareness meditation, where I'm just holding my attention on the sensation of what's inside, that buzzy feeling inside of my hand, that's always there if I just hold it still, and I spread that around my body. When I do that, I feel that joy, that constant bonjour. Hey, as I'm doing this video, if you're watching it on YouTube right now, because I'm doing a live stream Instagram, I'm doing also a YouTube video. So you're going to hear me talking to I'm talking to my phone on live stream sometimes. So back to what I was saying, when I'm sitting in that awareness, the one I like to start with, the awareness of that buzzy, tingly feeling in my hand, the more that I stay in that identification of that sensation, and I spread it around my body, and my mind will wander, I'll go to a thought will pop in and go, hey Tim, you gotta, oh don't forget, you gotta, whatever. I bring it back to that awareness of my body. Every time I do that, I feel, it's almost like I feel this light bulb getting a little bit brighter. This peace, this joy, bliss identification becomes a little stronger. And it feels so good. It's like, no matter what I was feeling and thinking about and identifying with, even physical sensations too, no matter what I was feeling up to that point, when I start to identify with that tingly, buzzy feeling in my body, and I start spreading it around and holding awareness on it, and my mind will wander, I bring it back. My mind will wander, I bring it back. It's a continual thing. And I stay longer and longer in that buzzy feeling. What happens is, I literally feel like, it's a sense of joy. It's joy. It's independent of whatever shit I have going on in my head, my day-to-day stuff. Whether my life's going well, things are good, I'm happy, I'm excited, yay, things are great. I got a good, for me, clients, I'm a vocal instructor. If something goes well, or with one of my instructors, have a great day, and I feel proud of them. Surface level stuff is a whole different thing than this experience of being underneath the surface, of this feeling of just sitting in this sense of bliss. That bliss is always there. And it's like the more that I sink into it, I really can feel like from there, I feel joy, and I can feel someone can say something to me or cut me off in traffic, and I can even have an emotional reaction. I can feel myself, I can feel a thought go, what the fuck was he doing or she doing? What's going on? I can have that thought pop in my head. Well, actually, the truth is, let me back up and say, if I'm in that awareness, when I'm in that identification with the deepest version of myself, that thought typically would not pop in my head. But let's say I'm in and out of this state of awareness. I'm aware of myself as that deep awareness, and then I'm identified with myself as Tim driving a car, and then I'm aware again. And that's because that's really what my life is like. And I know that some more ascended masters or ascended students might be at a place where they're awake all the time. If I'm being authentic and true, I'm not awake all the time. I'm awake. I feel like I'm awake more and more and more. But the cool thing is when I'm not awake, or when I'm unconscious, or when I'm identified with my thoughts, and I'm driving the car and someone cuts me off and I do feel frustrated, what happens to me now is as soon as I feel any frustration kick in, I wake up to it. I'm like, oh, look at me being frustrated right now. It's almost instantaneous. And in that recognition of it, in that recognition of the emotional reaction, I have a paradoxical situation happen at that time. I have two things happening at once. I have the frustration existing inside of my awareness, and then I have the underlying piece of witnessing it at the same time. So I have the frustration, and then I have the, look at me being frustrated right now. Isn't that interesting? Happening simultaneously. And in that identification, that's where I can have the duality of a deep level emotional experience, because that deep identification with peace and bliss, that deep identification is an emotional experience. So it is really two emotional experiences at once, or two experiences at once. This peaceful bliss, everything's okay, I'm totally fine, a constant sort of buzzing aliveness, and then frustration or annoyance. And what happens, what's really cool, is the more that we identify with that deeper self, it's really hard for frustrations and negativity to have a hold inside of ourselves. It just can't stay, it just can't be there. Because the reality of that deeper self-identification, when we really step into it, the reality of it is this. It's a positive emotional state. It's not a neutral state. And that, I think, is sometimes the misperception. You know, if we step out of the positive, the ups and downs of day to day, that it's going to be a bland experience, that it's going to be this boring state of being or boring existence. I'm telling you, if you haven't done this experiment, do the experiment, because that's not what it's like at all. I'm thankful right now that my morning routine, my meditation discipline, my spiritual work is a larger and larger portion of my waking hours, I'll say. And the experimentation that I've been doing with this stepping out of thought, identifying with the awareness that is the true me that's always there, the experimenting I have been doing with that has given me everything from full-on hallucinations to orgasmic sort of surges of energy in my body to bawling my eyes out with bliss and joy, like just gratitude for everything that I can think of that pops in my head. I'll sometimes sit in that awareness and I feel like I've got a Zen Buddhist prophet or something in my head saying all of this wise shit that's far beyond my mind's ability to come up with, that it's like in that state of being, in that vibration of identification with true self, which I believe other spiritual teachers like Abraham Hicks would call that being in the vortex. It's like being in that high buzzing, vibrating state of being. Our thoughts change. Our thoughts become like prophets, like the masters, like the spiritual teachers.